Rwanda, there was war, as everybody knows. So in 1994, when the war broke out in Rwanda, that ended with a genocide, we all were kind of forced to run out of the country. And many people lost their loved ones. Even us lost one of our children and many relatives. My father, who is a pastor, he told us that he knows why he's still alive. He wants to use us for his glory, so that we can be his hands and for his feet for the people in need.
So I was introduced to Pauline, and Pauline introduced me to a young mom who had a very specific need, and we were able to meet that need as the church. But more than that, it introduced me to the community of the refugees here in Louisville. I had no idea. I had no idea how many people were here from other countries. I knew there were, but I just didn't know how many. As some of those questions were answered for me, it just became very apparent that what Gate of Hope does is not just a good thing. It's a necessary, absolutely necessary thing.
Once here, we were acquainted with refugees, many refugees that were coming from Eastern and Central Africa.
We started serving them. It became a daily, activity, because as they were coming in, the first group was from Burundi, and then some came from Tanzania, others came from Uganda, from Rwanda. The community kept on growing.
A pastor from Nigeria, and he approached me and he said, "We have many refugees from your area. Can you come and just do interpretation for them during the Sunday service?" I said, "Yes."
So my husband started going there to do like an interpretation for the service so that our people can get help. But the number kept on increasing.
The refugees kept on coming. And then the same pastor approached me and said, "Why can't you start a second service with your people?" I said, "Oh, yes." And they kept on coming. And what was a second service now became a church. And so the ministry, what we are doing, we have 4 different projects. One is a driving school. We started the driving school because after we saw that many refugees were driving and they were being involved into roads accident, I said, maybe you can do something for them. And then I started a school whereby I teach them how to drive. And so far, more than 500 refugees went through my school and they got their learning permit. Another one is Goodwill or clothes closet. So when they come, they need clothing. And so we approached different churches here in Louisville to ask them to give us used clothes so that we can help our refugees with the clothing. The third project is the farming.
So this place, we have it now for 3 years, going to the 4th year. And before we started it, we used to do counseling with some of these growers and others who graduated from the program. But we didn't see much change. They still keep on being on many medications for depression and, loneliness, lack of appetite, lack of sleep. And that caused us to keep on wondering what is the reason and what can we do to help with that. Most of them are farmers back home. We felt like if we can have something that they like to do, it can help them to improve their health. We felt like if we can have something that will help them to do what they like to do and that can bring in some income for them, it will help them for health and for their identity. And once we had our first crops, everybody was happy. And by the end of the season, most of them had cut off their medication, especially for depression, and everybody was becoming healthy. And that's how we came up with this program called Community Supported Agriculture, whereby people of goodwill, they contribute their money, their shares at the beginning of the year, so that we can use that money to buy seeds and then keep most of it to be able to give them an incentive at the end of every month. And that was also a blessing for them, because they're able to go home, they can contribute for electricity, they can have their own money. People who they love to garden, they miss the vegetables from home. So now what we do is that we divide, each one will have a small plot, and you can put in what you would like to have. Most of them will have corn, they'll have beans, we'll have pumpkins, have different kind of vegetables. And at the end of the day, when they grow up, eggplants, even Rwandan eggplants, and when it's time to harvest, they don't just keep it for their families, but they share with friends. Many families benefit from this small plot that you see here, and it is a blessing.
So the fourth project is to provide the counseling, because those refugees, when they come, they are traumatized by all kinds of trouble that they went through back home, including the wars. And so when they come, they really need someone to help them.
We are having issues with people not being able to cope with the life because of different, financial problems, emotional problems, physical problems. Once we help a person as a whole, we are able now to lift up his soul. And what Gate of Hope does is to help, to encourage, to tell them that don't worry, it shall come to pass and it will be better. Better days are tomorrow. Just hold on.
Gate of Hope is all about the hope of Christ and bringing the hope of Christ to anybody, but more specifically to the refugee. Jesus tells us that we are to give a cup of cold water in His name. We're hoping to give even more in His name.